and then everything will go. So let me first right-click and copy this, and now people can visit the link and see that we have a live show going on. Okay, and for everybody's benefit, I just want to inform you that I am not listening to anything that's being said on IRC, because this will probably be more of a distraction than anything. So I'm going to go ahead. As a matter of fact, I'm actually just going to close IRC.
You can enable the Q&A thing.
Yeah, let me go ahead and enable questions and answers. That way people can put in their questions and that sort of thing, and I'll be able to see them on the screen. Let me also put this in full screen mode. Okay. And all right, I guess everything is set to go. So we will begin in 5, 4, 3. All right, welcome to the Linux Bandits, and this is our first ever live broadcast on YouTube, so we're going to see how well this works out. And the topic of today's discussion is Manjaro on Chromebook using Crouton. And we've got a pretty bright individual on our panel here. His name is Edge266, and he has his own spin of Manjaro currently that is called Bleeding Edge Linux, or Cutting Edge Linux, I believe.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
And it's Edge226, not Edge266.
Why do I keep doing that?
I have no idea. That's twice so far. Don't put it in the show notes that it's wrong this time.
I'll try my best not to mess that one up for you.
It's a Manjaro remix, and it is XFCE, KWin, and cairo-dock, and that's my preferred usage of all the Linux tools. Is that I like XFCE, but the one thing that I find that it is lacking in is the window manager. So I replaced that with KWin because I've used KDE a lot in the past. In the past, there was a lot of plasma issues and a lot of crashing and stuff like that. I have not used it recently, and so what I found I liked most about KDE was the KWin window manager. So I stuck that in there as a replacement for XFWM, and I also added cairo-dock to be kind of Mac-like and for quick launching and stuff like that. I really enjoy using cairo-dock for that. And there's a lot of really good functionality that KWin adds, and I'll just show some stuff here. I go to the top of the screen, and we'll wait for the lag to go, and it shows all the things that I am running, and you can drag and drop those things around to organize your desktop for how you would like your workflow to run. So if you're running, say, Facebook on one, but it's not necessarily in line with the other topics that you're researching, you can organize your workflow and have research stuff on one desktop, your music player on another desktop, and things like that. I've also got it set up so if you go to the top left, it shows all windows on all desktops, like so. And if you go to the top right of the screen, it will minimize whatever is on the desktop and re-maximize it. cairo-dock is at the bottom, and this workflow works very well for me. You can see the general memory usage and CPU usage of this. You can see here that the biggest CPU processing thing right now is the Google Talk Hangout that we're doing right now, and that's taking 60% of my processing power approximately. The Chromebook that I'm using has a 1.5 gigahertz Celeron processor. This will not work currently on the ARM processors. I'm trying to talk with some of the hardware manufacturers for the ARM Chromebooks and seeing if I can get my hands on one of those as like a sponsorship type thing, because I want to get this working on the ARM Chromebook as well. And without the hardware, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. So,
okay. Now, I have a question because a lot of people may not be familiar with Crouton and what it actually does. So why don't you give us a breakdown of what Crouton is and some of the steps you had to take to be able to get Manjaro running on top of your Chromebook.
well, here's what Crouton is from the main page. It is the Chromium OS Universal CH root environment. And so it essentially, since Chrome OS runs a modified Gentoo Linux, it takes and stacks on top of that kernel to be able to run another Linux on top of that. And you can switch back and forth. I cannot show that functionality because Google Hangouts takes a lot of bandwidth. I tried it the other day, having 3 Google Hangouts going, and it just didn't work. It would kick me off, so I can't show how to switch back and forth and what Chrome OS looks like or anything like that, and how to get into it or anything like that. But it's taken a lot of work on my part. What I did to start out was I started with this Manjaro manual branch, and I actually modified all of the Arch files in here and made my own files. Now, I hit issues with that in that there were things that the further I went, the more I had to modify, and I was told that I was better off. I was told that I was better off setting it up in a different way, and I knew this from the start because if you see here, these ones that look like a pointer, they're really just symlinks to the Arch files. So it thinks it's Arch now, but it's really Manjaro.
Now, interestingly enough, for those of you who probably don't know this, Edge 226 and I were in a hangout last week, and he was trying to show this to me, and he only had a command line coming up, and so now it looks like you have a fully functional OS running on this. Is that correct?
That is correct. However, this is a test bed for myself to get everything working properly. The configs that are over here in my config branch for XFC plus KWin, these are the initial configs that I started out with, and so they're not up to date yet. I can actually update them right now. They may not work on a normal computer because I added the keyboard target to Crouton, and that changes the key bindings, and they're not quite working right at this time. And I'll show you what's up with that. I've taken and removed the XFCE window manager settings from the settings manager and added this KWin settings. Previously, yes, I had to have another one for the startup stuff, the auto start stuff, because it would piggyback on top of the KWin startup stuff and the XFC startup stuff, and it would auto start stuff twice, but that's not happening on the Crouton version, which is nice, so I got rid of it. In the KWin settings, we'll say, do in here, if I try to set up the desktop grid using the Windows key, what should be the Windows key but is the search key on a Chromebook, I get the key you just pressed is not supported by a QT. That's because I used that that keyboard target. So I'm going to have to get this re-uploaded, do a reinstall of this, and get it set up so it works on a normal 104 keyboard. And I think that's my best bet at this time. So like this is not optimal for sure. I want it to work.
Just out of curiosity, what kind of hardware does your Chromebook have? Is it using like an NVIDIA? Is it using ATI? Or what kind of graphics interface does that have? And what kind of hardware you were mentioning, I believe before, that this does not support ARM. This only supports the Intel CPUs. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, on Arch there is. Let me grab another Firefox here.
And by the way, I have to admit, the desktop and everything that you've set up on this looks really, really nice.
Thank you. Arch has an ARM Linux version, which you can see here. So Arch has an ARM version. In order for me to actually get this put in the main Crouton, it must have an ARM version. That was the first requirement. So it's either this never gets added to the ARM version, or I get Manjaro updated so it has an ARM version. That's how I see things at this point. And so that's why it doesn't work with ARM, because there's no Manjaro for ARM. It's not set up for it right now. But if I can use the Arch Linux ARM, and I can get the Manjaro system so it works for a ARM version, and I can port the tools over to ARM that Manjaro uses, then it will be absolutely fine. So there's a bunch of things that I need to do with that. I need to get a repository. I need to do a whole bunch of stuff to actually get that working. That's kind of secondary right now. The hardware...
But with the heavy development that's going on right now with Manjaro, I have every reason to believe that they would probably eventually bring ARM support to the table. So I hope Phil is watching this video, because this could be an option, because it will allow Manjaro to be brought to many other platforms, especially as this distro is rising in popularity presently. So it's a great idea, and I can't imagine it being too difficult to set that up.
So at the moment, here's the ARM Chromebooks, and I have the Acer C7, which is this one here, the Acer C700. I have, actually, this list isn't even correct because, oh, it's right here. I have the 1.5 gigahertz model with the Intel Celeron 1007U. Which uses Intel graphics, and it says it has 2 to 4 gigs of RAM. Mine came with 2. I upgraded it to 6 gigs, and it was quite easy. I took out one screw and popped another piece in, and I upgraded this SSD to 240 gigs because I wasn't really interested in something that was only for the cloud. I wanted something that I could dev on and have space to do that. So I upgraded it for that. And yeah, so this particular model, you see, it's only $200. And so people could get started on that with that. They could use the 100 gigs of Google Drive that comes with it as their storage. But again, that's cloud-based. If you're not doing development, keeping your files on there would be perfectly fine. But for me, I wanted this as something that I could potentially use as a mini multimedia box, a client to my desktop, and things like that. And so far, it's been absolutely perfect for that.
But think of the other benefits that this is bringing to the table, because as you may know, there's been a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt stating that Chromebooks are useless without an internet connection. that sort of thing, which isn't true because you can still edit your documents and you can still do a number of things. It's just that you don't have access to the cloud. But this would give you the option to be able to download applications from any repositories and that sort of thing, and have all your favorite applications. That way, when you're going on a road trip, you're taking a flight or something like that, you'd be able to open up your Chromebook and be able to edit your documents, maybe play games and that sort of thing, without having any internet access. So this is something that can be very useful for a number of people. Do you have any thoughts on that, Matthew?
I think it could expand things a little bit and give people some more options. I'm not really too familiar with the Chromebooks though, so I really don't have much of an opinion on it. But I think that the more platforms that could be made compatible and be broadened would be generally a good thing for everybody.
Well, yeah, and on this particular Chromebook, I tested out Portal. Now, Portal is not a high-end game. It's not a AAA title. It was at the time that it came out, but it's not the most graphically demanding game, and I was getting 60 frames per second out of it. Mind you, that did crank my temps up to about 70 degrees Celsius. 80 is where it's going to say, hey, I don't like this. And it was working perfectly fine. So yes, light gaming, I'd say don't go with Portal or anything like that because you don't want to crank your temps up too much. But the indie games, if that's what you play, this will work great for you for gaming.
Let me ask you, did you even go as far as trying to build packages from the AUR on this?
I do have packages from the AUR on this. Some of them work, some of them don't. Voco Screen doesn't currently work for me. When I try and do a record with Voco Screen, it just goes like that, start, stop, and it doesn't actually record. So, but as you can see, the application itself is running. It does work. Mm-hmm. So there's some stuff that needs to happen in with this, but AUR stuff, no problem. No problem at all.
Indeed. Now, you indicated that once you've worked all the bugs out of this, you're going to possibly be distributing some ISO images and that sort of thing. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's very simple. I have these configs up here. Where did they go? These configs up here. And where
did my configs go?
I actually pulled these configs from my previous ISO that I did and started setting it up from those configs. So it's going to be very easy that once I get this up and running nice, that, hey, I can, because for the most part setting up an ISO is getting the configs set up right. So if I get, all the configs are mostly set up right already, like here's me removing the XFWM stuff from the settings manager. And here's removing the KDE system settings from the menu. And here is adding my KWin settings to the menu and to the XFCE system settings. So essentially all these configs are all portable to an ISO. And I already have my package lists of what I had on my previous ISO. So essentially, it's going to be very simple once I get this set up to just port it over to the Manjaro ISO. It's going to be very, very simple for me to do so. But this is my project at this time. And as you can see, the repositories I've contributed to, this DrinkCat Krog, that is the Arch Linux Chromium OS Crouton spin. And DNSHNID runs the official Crouton, which has Debian, Ubuntu, and Kali. DrinkCat is trying his best to get the Arch Linux Crouton put into the main Crouton, and I was doing the same for the Manjaro Crouton, but as I said, I talked to DNSHNID, and he said that it must have ARM support, and that's my big follow in being able to get there at this point. Now there's some good and there's some bad about me not being able to get that in, because if I just can't get it in, I can't get the hardware. That means I can take and make a lot of modifications to this that do not follow upstream, and I can do my own thing. Not necessarily what I initially wanted to do, but that's okay.
Now, we have already seen a lot of progress on this, I mean, in just the past week and a half alone. How long do you think it is going to take to finish development? Well, obviously, we never finish development. We keep improving on what we have, but when do you think you would have something that you would be able to throw out to the public, that they would be able to just download and give a shot?
It's going to happen pretty soon, because what I have to do is I have to, well, one thing that I'm not too concerned about right now is, let me open another terminal here. There's a little bit of config stuff that has to happen with the terminal. It's all white right now, except for the directories.
And
so,
of course, you have to install Bashish and Screenfash on it. I'm just kidding.
Well, yes, I actually do want to get that stuff set up so it looks nice for the users and stuff like that. But the priority for now is getting my config set up and getting the target set up so people can install to a desktop environment and have that set up. The terminal is, and making that look nice, for me, kind of comes second. It's functional right now, and that's all that really matters at this point. If I'm spending a lot of time trying to get the terminal to look perfect, it's going to take a lot longer for me to get it set up to where a user can actually use it. And if we take a look at here, I can't answer when it's going to be done because I've been kind of taking a break right now. My sleep schedule has been very difficult working nights, because just prior to that I switched my sleep schedule about 5 times, from going to nights to days to nights to days to nights.
I've been through that myself.
And so it's been rather difficult, and I do a lot of this work at night when I'm at work. That's a nice thing. But if you look here, my last commit on this Manjaro manual, when I was doing all the testing and getting stuff working to where the command line worked, there's 13 days there. So there's 13 days of development into this Manjaro branch to get this working. And like, I'll show you some of the stuff that I had to do to get it working. I had to put parts in like this here, if it's 64-bit, add the multi-lib, because Manjaro uses multi-lib by default. Yes. I had to add that in there. It was a requirement. It didn't install without it. It flagged errors. Also, this is setting up the repos that it uses. So I had to say, if the release is Manjaro, do it this way, because our repos are structured differently than the Manjaro ones. And there's just stuff like that it was minor differences between Manjaro and Arch that I had to get working properly. This file I didn't even have to change. The defaults and the releases are back in the other directory, and you can see again in here little differences that I had to change in the Arch stuff. I'm just looking for where those differences are. Like, here's the Arch, and the alarm is the ARM version. Well, we populate our keyring a little bit differently. Oops.
Yep, so don't want to make a mess of things there.
So I had to add if it's Arch and the release is Manjaro section to do the keyring stuff. And since we use pacman mirrors-g to do our mirrors, I had to add that in there and things like that. And where is that? No, that's not in this file. I added to the targets. Let's go back up to where the targets are. And I can make files in here in order to install stuff. Like, if we look here, there's the Arch version right here up at the top. Or no, that's not the Arch version. Go down, 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 down. Okay, so if it's Arch, or if it's Debian, it does certain things. If it's Ubuntu, it does certain things. And here's where the files are actually installed. So you can see it takes XFC goodies, and this one, this Ubuntu line, means it only hits the Ubuntu stream. So everything's kind of mix-mashed in to kind of work there. But I can easily make a target here, like this kwin target, which I was working on, that installs the KDE-based workspace. And then up here, the requires GTK Extra. I'm going to make a bunch of targets so people can customize this. And then I'm going to make a CELME, Cutting Edge Linux Manjaro Edition target that will pull in everything that a user needs. So all they have to do is run the sudo command sh-e home drive downloads, because that's where the Chromebook has access to Crouton, and then all they have to do is -r Manjaro -chi Selme, and then it'll pull in everything for this setup. That's one of the work in progresses, but I have to find all the packages that are required and that are in addition to what is installed on default in order to do that.
So what you're basically saying is that the end user who decides to use this is going to have have a little bit of know-how under their belt. So this probably wouldn't be very user or beginner friendly. Is that what you're pretty much saying there?
I'm not saying that it wouldn't be beginner friendly. I'm saying that the person has to be not afraid to enter the command line, because you must enter the command line in order to do this stuff at this moment. And this is you actually brought this up, and this is something that I was looking to discuss with you. You're fairly good with JavaScript, are you not?
ActionScript, actually.
ActionScript, okay.
Yeah, that's used in Flash.
I'm going to do a shout out to all the people that are viewing this video. If you are good with JavaScript and you think you could help me make a front end that would help users install this without requiring command line interface experience and be able to open your CH roots and stuff like that without command line experience, I'm looking for help with that if you want to help out. And that would be in terms of either a Chromium or a Chrome app or a Chrome extension if you have experience doing so. And because there's a Chrome app to be able to open the terminal, so there should be a Chrome app. You should be able to set it up so you can access the terminal from an app in the web interface. And that's what I want to set up, so people can click a button, install Manjaro, click a button, and Manjaro pops up. That's where I'm looking to go, but all of this has to be set up first.
All right. Matthew, you got any questions?
Not really. This is kind of over my head slightly, but yeah, keep doing it.
Well, I want my hardware to work, so it's not going to stop, and I'd like to extend that to all Chromebook hardware available, because I'm enjoying this development process. I really am. I've been looking for a project to do the development on for a long time, and I tried to join the Manjaro development team. it didn't work out, and it's nothing against the Manjaro developers. Some things need to happen with one of the developers and their code for me to be comfortable coding with them, and that's all it is. I hit a point where I spent 4 days looking at their code trying to understand it, and variables were used that were not understandable, and it frustrated me, and I said, okay, I'm not doing this until you fix this, and the developer has not done so. So that's essentially why I'm not on the Manjaro dev team.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you currently have any documentation on your cutting-edge Linux website describing some of the things that you're doing with this, or is this a work in process? Will you be posting information on your website there?
I constantly post information on my website, and I actually have it up here. You can, well, wait a second. So my website actually loads out on the Hangout, but you can see this is the front page of my website. I have a Crouton or ChromeBook plus Crouton link on the main page, and this actually shows the development process as I've been going on with it. I post
Awesome.
as I update it. I tell you guys, hey, this has been updated, that's been updated, so you know where it's going.
All right, so this is a great idea for those of you who may be considering trying out Manjaro on your Chromebook. And I believe this is the only project in existence right now that is that will allow this to be ported over. So excellent job to you, Edge 226. Let's get that out right this time.
Yes,
Excellent
the
work.
226. The 226, what it is, for if anyone is wondering, February 26th is my birthday. 226.
Oh, cool.
That's
Happy
what
birthday.
it is. That's what it's about. So my birthday is coming up.
All right, I'll have to send you a Powered by Linux sticker to throw on that Chromebook. Too bad I can't find them in Powered by Manjaro yet, but I'm sure we'll eventually see those surfacing at some point.
Well, someone sent me a link to their Chromebook, and I'm actually going to switch my desktop over so you can see this link, because I want one of these stickers. Stick it over to my desktop for a second.
Okay.
The Crouton sticker right beside my mouse. I want that sticker to put on my Chromebook. And I'd like to get a Manjaro sticker or something to put on there as well. So I'm saying, hey, I'm rocking Manjaro through Crouton on the Chromebook. I think that would be totally awesome to show off, like, hey, this is what I'm rocking. Here's some extra stuff that I've been dwelling on and thinking of, and this is going to be a work in progress, and it's going to be a something that may or may not happen. I work at a college, and I want to get this set up so it's user-friendly enough that I can market this to the local college for students to use. Because with a laptop of these specs that has 6 gigs of RAM, and when you start getting into high-end SSDs, you're looking at about $800 to $1,000 for just that. And that's a lot of money for students to purchase. Whereas setting up this Chromebook, I had to purchase a USB stick. Of course, that's a one-time purchase on the USB stick, but students would not have to purchase that. It cost me, with the upgrades, $450 for this Chromebook. I live in Canada, so hardware prices are usually higher in Canada than they are in the States. I see people buying laptops for $200-300 less than I can buy them. So this, for me, this was the cheap solution.
Now, my question is, have you tried VirtualBox or Wine on this thing to see if those would work? Because these are options that people in colleges, because you did say you wanted to get this into a college, they may need to get that Microsoft Office working, and they may have to run that in a virtual machine or by running it in Wine. So have you tested that capability yet?
That I have not tested, but I see absolutely no issue with Play on Linux working on this. I see no issue with it. In terms of the Office documents, I would think people can use OpenOffice or LibreOffice. Those are the options I'm going to provide. There are students that this will not work for. I understand that.
Yes.
I completely understand that. And I'm going to be straightforward with the college saying the multimedia students, not going to work for them. It's not. They need the high-end video editing hardware, they need the Windows software or the Mac software, and that's not going to work on this. But the people who
hey, I do high-end video editing on my Linux machine, through Kadian Live.
Yes,
so.
but is that going to be taught at a college? No, it's not. They're
Probably
going to
not,
use the
no.
corporate solutions. So is it for those people? No. Is it for the people who just need to be able to put their work on their computer? Yes, it is certainly for those people. Is it for the people who are in the programming? Yes, it is for those people. It is for most of the college. There is only a small percentage of the college. Like I said, the multimedia students, it's not going to work for them. But everyone else, this should work for.
Okay, cool enough, cool deal. All right, well, we're running out of time here. Do you have any final thoughts on this?
Other than the fact that I'm working on getting this set up so it's easy for the end user, and that's my eventual goal, no other thoughts or anything that I feel needs to be shared beyond that.
Well, Matthew, any thoughts?
Well, I think it's an interesting project because if it takes off, it could evolve into other things and allow people to do more with their Chromebooks than what it originally was intended to do. So I think in concept it's a good idea, but it'd be interesting to see where it goes.
Oh, there is one note actually. To be able to do this with your Chromebook, it has to be in developer mode. And this comes with an adage of a little less security. If someone turns off your Chromebook, turns it back on, it'll say your OS isn't verified. And if they hit space, it'll wipe all your stuff. That's something that I'm trying to discuss with Google to get fixed in either having, say, a password on turning off if you're in developer mode or something like that, because it's not ideal right now. It's not, but as we work on this stuff, we can work with Google and the upstream stuff to be able to get that proper. And it's not really that big of a deal if no one touches your machine. If you're the only one that uses it, no one turns it off, no one messes about with it. For a personal machine, it would work great.
Okay, so at the end of the day, I mean, just the past week and a half time looking at your earliest steps up into presently, you've done a lot of work on this. It looks great, but as you indicated, it's you've got a few little bugs to, dig around and get rid of and get those fixed. So very promising looking project, so definitely people check out cuttingedgelinux.com. I believe that's the website, cuttingedgelinux.com.
That is correct.
And you can get more information on this and that sort of thing. So thank you, all of you, for joining us. Looks like we've had a lot of viewers here during this live podcast, and usually, and actually, this is actually a test run for me because I've never done a live podcast on here before, and it seems like it's working pretty good. So
shout out to the Manjaro community, the Linux distro community, and to your channel, the Spatula channel. I hang out in those channels at all times. I am not always online at all times, but I am there at all times. So if you leave me a message, I'll see it and I'll get back to you. If you have any questions or anything, you're welcome to ask me. If you want to help me out, you're welcome to talk to me on those channels. I also have my own IRC channel, and you can get to it from my website. You can see right here, server IRC Freenode. Here, pound cutting edge Linux. If you click pound cutting edge Linux, it'll take you to the web chat.
Okay, cool.
So you can get into the web chat there. And there's not a lot of people in there, so you'll get personalized support from me if you're in there.
All right, awesome. And I'll be sure to add that to my list of IRC rooms. Obviously, because of my time constraints, I can't be in IRC 24/7. But when I am there, I'm always willing to chat it up and talk with people. But I can tell you, Edge has already given me a few pointers already, and a lot of that code and stuff that you saw on the screen, I'm going to be doing a lot of that stuff myself when I'm setting up my own Manjaro spin. And that sort of thing.
And
I still have a lot of learning, but that's another topic for another day.
And as I've said previously, you're always welcome to ask me for help with that stuff. If there's something that's just buggy and not working and you don't understand the syntax, I've looked over and I've done it before. I'll help you out with it. It's not an issue.
The only problem is it's going to get to a point where you're going to have to issue some command to IRC to make yourself invisible to me, because I'm going to be bugging you and bugging you and bugging you.
Well, and that's good. Realistically, like I myself, I've worked at 3 call centers. You don't work at call centers if you don't enjoy doing technical support, and I do enjoy doing technical support. That's why I hang out in the channels all the time. It's been getting to the point where it hasn't been fun though, but I want to help people get to the point where I'm at in a level of understanding so they can help people, and then I don't have to with those particular issues.
Well, I'd like to thank you for your contribution. You're making excellent strides in the community. You're bringing new innovations and making things available to people, so kudos to you for doing that. Kudos to you, Matthew, for your contributions as well. The things that you're doing, to increase awareness of the different technologies that are available to people. So good job indeed. And thank you, all of you who are watching this live. I'm going to be switching this video over to private so I can do some post-production editing, and then I'll repost this back online. But so thank you once again, Edward and Matthew, for joining us. And who knows when we're going to have this next podcast. So be sure to join us on IRC. I'm in Linux distro community. I'm in #Manjaro, #Spatry is my room. I'm going to go ahead and join Cutting Edge Linux's room as well, so you guys can interact with me there. And that's the best place to interact with Spatry's Cup of Linux, by visiting cupoflinux.com, signing up for the forum, because I'm on the forum every day reading comments and responding where appropriate. It's just easier for me to manage, especially when you have 400 plus videos on YouTube. It's impossible to keep up with all of the comments that keep flooding in. So that's why I set up the forum, and then of course the IRC chat. Be sure to register to chat on IRC. There is a video at cupoflinux.com that'll tell you how to do that. Well, that's all we have for right now. Thank you, all of you, once again, and we'll be back sometime in your future. Ciao.
Just to add in there, I also have a YouTube channel, and this will be reposted onto my YouTube channel as well, which is, as you can see on the screen. So that YouTube channel, my username is Cutting Edge Linux, and you'll get my videos through that.
All right, awesome. And I assume you're going to be having, and I also assume you're going to be having more videos on this in the future, correct?
I do definitely intend to make more videos, but I want to do live streams like we are now of the development process. The issue on that is I do most of my development when I'm at work, and I can't use the bandwidth to do that.
Gotcha.
So that's where I'm struggling is because I work security. There's times where I'm sitting in the room, I work nights, and I monitor the security cameras, and literally nothing happens on the cameras. So I get to spend a lot of time doing this development while I'm working, so that's definitely of benefit, but it's not of benefit to the YouTube channel, and that's why there's only been text-based posts on my blog, because if you look at the times that those are posted, they're posted when I'm at work,
Gotcha.
between midnight
All right.
and 8 a.m.
All right, cool deal, cool deal. So definitely check out the websites we've mentioned, and I'll also try my best to put links in the show notes for you. Thank you all once again, and we'll be back some other time.